7. We are live with Chris Coyier from Codepen, CSS Tricks, and many other awesome projects. And he's going to be joining us today. On our panel, we have Nick Niemeyer, JavaScript agent at New Relic, and Rachel Neighbors, master web animation wizard, speaker, and her own boss at Tin Magpie. Rob Simpson, senior front-end developer at Capco. Danny Blue, front-end developer at Deloitte Digital. And myself, Eric Isaacson, UX engineer at 3 Pillar Global. So, full house today. So welcome,
It's
Chris.
such a cool format. Yeah, thanks for having me. I love the mega format. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it makes it kind of difficult with a lot of people around. So it's like everybody's trying to ask questions, and I kind of step on people's voices sometimes. But
wow, I'm sure.
I'll try to be patient.
So, Chris, you're the creator of CSS Tricks and Codepen, author and speaker, podcast host of the ShopTalk Show.
Yeah, those are my 3 things. You got them all.
All 3 things. No, I'm sure there's lots of other stuff. Those are the things that I.
Those are 3 pretty good things.
Yeah, they are awesome things. So we brought you on today to talk about Codepen. So do you want to tell us a little bit about it and
sure, I would love to.
What it's all about?
I like creator too. I might steal that because sometimes it's awkward when you're trying to explain, because you're like, do you say co-founder? That sounds so fancy. I don't know about that. And then it's just like CSS Tricks is largely a blog, so to say founder of that sounds kind of weird too. But creator, I can take that. And so Codepen is at its core is just a code editor in the browser. That the heart and soul of it is the editor of it, which gives you, if people have never seen it, they may have seen things like JS Fiddle, which predates it, or JSBin, which is like, there's an HTML box, a CSS box, a JavaScript box, and you write those languages in those boxes, and it gives you a live preview of what you've built, which is, both simple and not simple at all to build. But on top of Codepen, you have this whole social layer. So you sign up and you have an account and you own those things that you build, which we call pens. And you follow other developers, they follow you. You have there's conversation threads and hearting and all that type of stuff. And you get a blog on Codepen too. And it's kind of a community place for.
And it's really usable.
Hey, thanks. So that's Codepen.
Yeah, Rachel and I were talking before the show about Codepen in particular, because I used to use JS Fiddle a lot, and when I found Codepen, it was totally different UX experience for me. I really liked how it flowed and how it worked, and Rachel had said, it changed my life, and so I thought that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's great. They're similar in the editor experience, although I feel like we've been working on it for a long time and maybe offer a little bit more. But it's that social kind of experience on top of it that makes it different, I think.
Oh, I wouldn't discount the effort that your team and you yourself have put into the user interface right there. I mean, like, I know a lot of designers who never would have touched JS Fiddle. They would have taken one look at it and bolted right out the door and been like, I'm out. But most everybody looks at Codepen and they're like, I get this. I see. CSS goes here. It auto-refreshes. Look, my change is suddenly there. It's like, it is a boon for people who might be intimidated by code, I think.
That's nice. Well, thanks for the compliment, but it actually makes me feel really good to know that people might give it a chance that they wouldn't have given another tool a chance just by virtue of kind of how it looks and works. That's pretty cool. I hope that's true.
It is true. I've talked to them.
Yeah, every time I go to the application, I see you have like this little box that pops up and says, "Hey, this is what's new in Codepen, and you should check this out and do that." It seems like a lot of work with all of the other things that you do. Can you talk about how much time you invest in?
Well, it's a job, It's just like y'all have jobs, You do work on it and stuff. So, I do think of it as multiple jobs, kind of, because CSS Tricks is kind of its own whole world, which is it's a blog, but there's forums on it, and I do screencasts on it, and I have a paid membership area of it, and I have guest posts, and now I'm starting to hire up some kind of staff writers and stuff for it. It's kind of and advertising on it is its own beast. So it really is kind of its whole separate universe. It's a different Slack group, if you will. Anyway. Yeah, but because there's multiple people that work at both, they kind of, I don't make every decision at every place, they kind of have their own momentum, which is nice. Yeah.
So you must do a lot of delegation. Has that been something that's been difficult to grow into as you've expanded your projects?
It has a little bit. It was. I remember feeling super scared about anything. Being like, here, you handle this now, but do a good job and do it exactly how I would have done it. But that has faded away. I think that fades away pretty quickly after you kind of give away your first project, and you're like, wow, that feels good to have somebody else do that entire task. It kind of started with, I don't know if it started, but one of the major ones was like anything related to financing. So now I have, any invoice that gets sent out, any transaction that happens, that's dealt with by somebody else, primarily because I don't like those things. They're very boring.
There are people who like those things. They should get me to do them.
I know, and I've lucked out by having one that she loves it. This is like, I don't know, just gets a kick out of Excel, has strong opinions about which versions of Excel to use and stuff, and just is like, let me show you, I have weekly meetings, and she's flying around showing me all this. And now I get a chance to look at my businesses in a way that I never have before, because before I'm like, I don't know, just PayPal me or whatever, I'll attach that to my personal checking account, and that's how business works, right? Ugh. No, it's not, which is nice. On the Codepen side, though, that's all like, when I was saying all that stuff, that's mostly CSS Tricks, which has just been my personal thing for a long time that has just now upgraded itself into an actual business. But when we started Codepen, the other fellows involved made sure we did all that legit from the start, so I never even see that stuff. Not my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, and part of it's just a trust thing, right? Like, so just being able to, like you said, like when you're, I know exactly what you're talking about with having to hand over something, and you're like, please do it exactly the way that I would want to, so because I'm going to come back and tell you how you should have done it the other way anyway. But then after you realize that other people also know what they're doing, it's nice.
Yeah, trust is a great way to put it. Oops.
Sorry, I didn't mean to step on you, Chris. I just said sometimes people can impress you and do something better than you would have done it, and that's even better. You're like, oh my god, bonus.
Oh, are you kidding? Of course, definitely. In almost every case, it's almost at first you're almost like, am I good at anything anymore? But yeah, trust is big, and when you find somebody that you really do trust to give them the keys, that's pretty cool. I'm not sure that anybody on Earth I could delegate to. I've just been lucky enough to have people that are friends anyway, so I trust them because you generally trust friends or whatever. And then I think once you pop the delegation cherry, if you will, you can kind of just be like, yeah. All right. Oops. Am I losing? I'm sorry if my quality is low.
So I've just recently started taking CSS seriously, as a thing that I should learn about. And I've been reading through a bunch of CSS trick stuff. What got you interested in starting that out?
Yeah, great. I like that. That's an interesting perspective that I hear sometimes. People are like, CSS, it's definitely not a programming language or worthy of being as part of those discussions or whatever. Not that that's necessarily what you thought. Or some people are like, key value pairs, how hard can that be? I don't know. I didn't come from that perspective at all. It's always felt hard to me. I think back in the way when the first time I ever saw CSS probably was installing a WordPress site, a decade or more ago, and WordPress, for weirdly enough, I don't think ever did like the tables thing. From the beginning, all their themes they had a CSS file attached to that theme, and I was a designer enough that I knew that I wanted to change what this site looked like. And I figured out somehow that the CSS file is the place where you do that, and went in and made changes and colors and sizes and whatever. And I was like, this is awesome. It really is empowering to know that you can just change red to blue, and everybody in the world that sees that site is blue now. I know that seems like a platitude or something, or is that? I just learned what that word is. But it means like a big thought that like doesn't have a lot of meaning, but it is. It is powerful. Like anything you push, that like the web just feels like a powerful thing, and CSS has tremendous power over it. It's the look and feel of the whole site. It's super cool, and I think that was appealing to me because it's both artistic and expressive, and like has this element of nerdery, and I kind of like how those two things go together. So yeah, that was the early days, and I kept working on blogs, making personal sites like everybody else, and made a site for my band. Yeah.
Do you still have the band?
No. But I wish I did, though. Those were nothing but good thoughts for all that team.
But it's almost like robotics, meaning so like as soon as you first start trying to do the first time you do anything like with electronics, programming any electronics, you make the little LED light blink. That's
sure.
it. And as soon as you get the little LED light to start blinking, you're like, I can do anything.
Yeah.
I can do anything now. And it's like that with CSS. Like for me, when first start opening up the dev tools, and you're like, I can just change these values, and then the things change on my screen.
Yeah.
It's like I said, it is very empowering.
I agree, and I'm sure everybody in any language that they work with has that feel. That like certainly you have that moment when you first get into JavaScript, and I'm sure back-end folks feel mad power when they I don't know, when they make their first database query or something, and be like, I get it now. This is how every site on the internet works. Cool. And then I started writing about it just because I was like getting a kick out of it and learning about it. And
Uh-oh.
No. Come back, Chris.
Frozen in time.
We're not done with you.
Oh, Hangouts is doing wonders for us today.
It is. It's going pretty well.
And I reduced my settings all the way down to low for this.
I did too.
Yeah.
I'm pixelated. I'm pixelated for this.
Oh, let's see if he jumps back on here in a second. I mean, it's what he's saying is.
There
Wait.
he is.
Are you there?
I'm back.
Awesome.
All right.
We didn't, we didn't just stop and in panic when you were gone. Not at all. Just kept right on rolling.
Never.
Yeah. Right. Now CSS though, we had Anna Tudor and
Nice.
and we had
David Walsh.
David Walsh on, and we were talking about like calc and all the mathematical things you could do with CSS. It was really impressive. Like if you look at any of Anna's Codepens, I don't know, it's like brilliant stuff. And some people look at it and they're like, "That's done with CSS."
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Rachel too.
Yeah, Rachel is awesome.
I look at
Tomorrow, Anna just sent me a guest post for tomorrow. That's going to be
Great.
Yep, totally cool. It's kind of like just for like people out there who are like want a sneak preview of the mathematical weirdness. It's like you can do clipping paths now in CSS, through the clip path property, and you give it the like polygonal points like you would define a polygon in SVG. And what's kind of cool is so it's like show me what's inside there, but clip away anything that's outside of there.
Yeah.
And you'd think that would be easy to reverse, right? Show me anything that's outside of there but not inside. And it's not actually that easy. So like Anna solves it kind of with math. She's like, well, we'll use the zero tunneling method where we'll start here and draw around it, but then move the cursor back to the original polygon point and traverse it reverse order. And I'm like, okay, awesome. That sounds like a perfect guest post because there's no way I would have ever thought of that. And then goes on to make incredible demos out of it. So yeah, that should be neat. I listened to that one with David Walsh, and it was great. I like who you guys get on and get different people with different perspectives. Pretty cool.
Yeah, everybody who's been on has been pretty brilliant. So it's been really, we've been very lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so I want to go back to Codepen for a little bit. So one of the things that is interesting about, to me, those types of platforms is that there's no setup. So not that there's a lot of installation or setup for for HTML, CSS, and JavaScript anyway. But do you think one of the reasons that things like Codepen have become so popular is because how easy it is to just start? You can just start typing something and then it will appear. You don't have to worry about anything with your browser. You can just go. You can play around with an idea. If you have no idea what you're doing, you can just see what happens when you change things. Do you think that's
sure that's an appealing part of it. Absolutely. I mean, I did it. The motivation for me to build it entirely was more on like after I've done that, then I can save it, and then it's just like online, and I can't lose it. I can't screw it up. It's there, which is good. We hear from teachers all the time that that's why they used Codepen, though, particularly, is that we could buy Dreamweaver for each of these 40 computers, and even with Adobe's educational discount, that's $150 for each computer in here, or we could use this for free and get possibly even more out of it, because students can save a pen and then submit it to their professor. Look what I did. It's easier to work together. Yeah. That type of thing, instead of having to not only have Dreamweaver, but then or whatever, I'm just using it as a placeholder, but then have some file sharing system and have some kind of, then what do? Zip it all together and email it to your professor or whatever. It's nice to have things kind of just in the cloud, as it were.
I taught a class in Denmark last year, which was really cool. It was weird to go to Denmark and be teaching an academy, like Denmark's Academy of Multimedia Graduates. And I used Codepen. I'd be like, here's your URL. I want you to fork this, and now follow along with me. And that was a great way to teach. There was none of this, everybody have your key fobs. Now I want you to open blah, blah file. People spend a lot less time worrying about the file structure and a lot more time worrying about their key value pairs.
Yeah, I think they feel safer too, right? Like, okay, it's just a page here. It's not like...
That's an interesting perspective, yeah. Like, you can't screw up a website. Websites protect you from yourself.
Exactly.
Sometimes.
So it's interesting though, there's a lot of developers and designers that I talk with who love Codepen. And it's not so much with JSBin or the others on those, just seems to be that way with, mostly there's either a designer or a developer, type of person who will gravitate to one of them. But with your platform, it's a little different, where you have a mix. Is there, how are people using it, do you find? Do you have analytics on that, or?
That's a good question. Certainly there's the whole teaching perspective. There's certainly people who feel like their profile is their portfolio, and I only want to put public things on there that are in very good shape and stuff. And this is similar. I'm sure Dribbleface is the same kind of thing. Like, do you post in progress stuff? Do you put a bunch of like, just help me with this kind of stuff on there? I don't know. I treat it more like that. Like, I don't really mind what my recent pens are. It could be anything that I'm working on at the time. I don't try to like keep it really clean in there. Although we did offer a feature at one time which is still the feature now, that the homepage of your profile, you can put whatever pens you want on there. So if you want to showcase particular things that you did and keep it clean if you want to, you kind of can. I hate to just shrug and be like, I have no idea how people use my website, but I don't mandate it in any particular way. It's even a little hard to explain. Like, Codepen, it's this place to play around with stuff, make reduced test cases, show off the things that you do, have informal groups with people to learn things. Certainly learning and teaching are part of it, and it's like, all these years later, it's like I'm not sure that it's even a good idea to focus on or tell people that it's just for one thing. It's kind of, it's whatever you want to do with it. something I'm open to.
That brings up a question I wanted to ask you. So, like, one of the coolest things when people release tools into the wild is that often the users end up doing things that are completely unexpected with them, like turning their profile page into a portfolio.
Sure.
So I was wondering, what's the most unexpected thing you've seen done with Codepen? I've seen like people post blog posts on Codepen.
Yeah.
What have you seen that you just totally didn't see coming?
Thanks for the help with that one, because I was like, oh no, we actually, this happens all the time, but I'm blanking off of one of those ideas. Certainly that is a big one, is that people are like, they're using it to show off of an idea. This is how you do something in some kind of front-end technology, but I also want to explain what I'm doing. So while I'm doing it, I'm going to use a bunch of paragraph tags, and I'm literally going to explain it. There's one like really epic post on centering things, or Epic Pen, that's just super long. It's like the longest blog post. It would be incredibly long for our actual blog post. And it has and it's tied together, so all the like styling for what the explanation looks like is all mixed together with all the centering code and stuff. I love the pen, nothing against it, but I was like, it's a little unfortunate that like it probably doesn't have quite the like SEO value of a blog post when it's all kind of buried in the code. Not that we don't like attempt to have that code be indexed. We like try to think about that and do a good job with that, but I don't think that it has the same kind of value as just like an actual blog post that with an article tag and actual paragraph tags and all that stuff. And that happened a lot. It wasn't just that one pen. As a lot of people explain what they're doing in a pen with words. And it was like, we should add a blogging feature, and now we have that. And that was months of effort, but it was kind of like, you should be able to just, if you want to just write, you should be able to just write and explain something. And then if you want to embed a pen as a sample, we made that easy to do with the blogging feature. And that's all in there. It's not the most used feature of Codepen, but I'm glad that we built it, because if somebody, if you want to have a blog about code, it really does make blogging about code a lot easier. You get kind of like a syntax highlighter for free. It's easy to embed pens. You can, the URLs are your own structure. You can apply custom CSS to it, which I kind of do all the time. It's kind of like here's not only just craft a post, but if you want to add CSS just to that post, here's a little place to do that, and stuff like that.
That takes me back to my MySpace days when I first learned CSS.
Could you do that? Apply like special styling to a MySpace post? Or I'm sure you could. There's always a way to force it.
And it would parse them. That was probably totally unsafe.
No, it actually was. That was a big problem with MySpace, is that they didn't sanitize any of their inputs at the beginning. You could write entire JavaScript programs and throw them in there. That's how those worms spread so fast.
Because Microsoft always had a way to like execute filters execute JavaScript in CSS with the filter stuff.
They would just let you put JavaScript and like CSS files right in there. It's like, get in there.
Yeah. You didn't even need to trick it. You would just put
that's how they get the blinky backgrounds and the special cursors with rainbow trails.
Oh my god.
I guess they thought that X with XSS was a C. I don't know.
I don't think we even had words for XSS back then, did we?
That's the best joke I've heard.
But so, Chris, what you were saying, so that's not only just an example of somebody doing something unexpected with Codepen. That's an example of people doing unexpected things with Codepen that then became supported features.
Yeah, right. That was kind of I think that was what Rachel was getting at, right? Kind of like how do we then react to the unusual things that people do?
Is there another way to connect the code and the blog post, for instance, having in comments, having some sort of link to it? Something to that degree?
Yeah. Although not on the actual blog feature on Codepen, just because we have a whole special way to do that. Just it's kind of like there's all your there's your writing area, and then all your pens off to the right in a place where you can search and paginate through them and stuff, and you kind of just drag and drop them where you want them to be. And I think that's like a more interesting way to kind of embed pens. Just it gives you more control. You can change the height of them and the theme that you use when you're embedding them and stuff. But I know what you mean. Like, can I just drop a link to a pen in and expect it to turn into an embedded pen? We do offer that through OEmbed, which is that tech that's kind of like I actually don't know the history of it all that well, but it's kind of like any site that supports it. Kind of like if you drop a Flickr link or a YouTube link into the text of something, it just magically transforms into a video. We offer that as well because there's kind of a standardized API for that works, and if anything supports OEmbed, it's very easy to do that with Codepen too. And like I have that enabled in the comments for CSS Tricks and in the forums on CSS Tricks. Just drop if anybody, even if you accidentally do it, just like follow this link, it'll just transform into the embed, which is kind of a nicer experience.
So I have a feeling we're about to dive into some technical questions. Before we stray too much from the user side of this, I've got one more question. Like the way people organize their profile pages to be like personal galleries, and the way when you visit Codepen, there's this nice curated gallery of, you know, Codepen pics, which by the way I hear you pick all yourself, and and popular, you know, like the stuff that the community has voted on so many times that they're just perpetually always in the top 5. I'm wondering, have you ever had to resolve issues like, because people can fork work so readily, have you ever had issues where somebody might see a really well done Codepen from someone who's not really promoting it, fork it, and then sort of assume public credit for it? Have you ever had to resolve issues like that? Because I know in the artistic community we have issues with that all the damn time. Has that ever happened in your community?
Oh yeah, it happens all the time, sadly. We try to, one thing, there's a whole page about it in the docs now that says like, I forget what it's titled, but it's like, has your work been stolen or something like that? It's kind of like it's like the top FAQ, because I want people to be easily to be able to find that. And like if you were the victim of this, I want it to be very clear like what you can do about it. Certainly I'll hand resolve it every single time. I'm not going to be like, oh, sorry, everything's open source, just whatever, man. You know, like, no, if you're the original creator, we of course want to give you credit, not anybody that just copied and pasted it from you. Because I can kind of the pics on the front page of Codepen are what I put there. That's like there's no, you know, I am the law there in a sense. Now, if you posted something on Codepen and they copied and pasted and put it on their own profile, I probably won't delete theirs, because that is like trickier territory, because we have very clear docs on Codepen that says if you post something there, it's MIT. Don't post anything in there unless it's MIT. MIT meaning MIT licensed, which is that totally open source. Take it, do whatever you want with it, except for that it also has to be MIT. And that's public pens only. That's the kind of idea there. And it was, you know, we had long discussions with lawyers about it. It's just the way it has to be, because we can't be in the middle of fights. You know, if somebody says I'm going to apply whatever license I want to it, or this is absolutely mine, and somebody stole it from Codepen, then it's kind of like it was our responsibility for making that available, and we just don't want to be in the middle of it. So that's the deal. Everything's open source kind of thing. As long as how you use it is also open source. That's the root of MIT. So I'm not going to go delete it. They were under fair use to copy that thing. But I'm certainly not going to promote it. I'll certainly will remove it from pics and put the proper author there. I would certainly leave a comment on the copy and be like, hey, this is you snagged this from there. I'll step in to do that if I have to. But I would also encourage other people to do that too. Like, hey, you snagged this from there. We also have forking built in, so if you actually hit the fork button, for one thing, it will never show up in recent. You know, like it doesn't look like a brand new copy under you. It's just a fork, so it's just like is gone from that area. It won't show up on somebody's public profile as looking owned by them. It'll be under their forked tab. So it, like, you know, like if it's a fork, we try and make clear that it is a fork and kind of remove it from the normal ecosystem of Codepen.
I'll have to keep that in mind. I fork a lot of my own work to expand upon it.
Yeah, we should probably deal with self-forks slightly differently than regular forks, just because I do that too, and it's like these are different concepts now, and it's like I almost would prefer that they both live in my public rather than having one there and one in forked. I don't know. Stuff like this is tough, you know. But we try to make it very easy to fork, because I'd rather people click fork than I would have them just copy and paste your code, you know, make it look like theirs. We've even messed around with trying to algorithmically detect this, or like, you know, one of our concepts is that we're doing now. It's just we haven't made super good use of it. It's just kind of like take everything that is a pen, all the settings, all the code, all everything, and like MD5 it. And then, like, if somebody makes an example, they copy you exactly. We can compare those MD5s and see that it's a copy that wasn't a fork. So we can be like, oh, hey, you know, that's kind of red flaggy. Be like, hey, this is exactly the same as another pen, but you didn't actually fork it. So maybe we can just like apply the fact that it's a fork. We haven't made it very far down this road yet, but at least we're like collecting the data, so that we can theoretically use it. We're sensitive to it. We don't want...
I love that you're trying to anticipate intention. I mean, I understand it's also a little big brother, like, oh, we're going to take all this data and just assume that you want this. But it's also, like, that's what Apple does. So I admire that you're trying to take initiative and figure out what your users are intending to do.
I think I saw you be a little bit like, I wonder if you even knew that everything is MIT on Codepen, or if that was a surprise to you, because it's probably a little delicate.
Because I use my cat from my old comics and a bunch of my examples, and I've had people be like, "I love your cat. I want to make a game. Can I use your sprite?" And I'm like, "No." And so it's like,
just the code would be MIT. It wouldn't. Your assets wouldn't be MIT.
Oh, the code is free.
It's just the code. It's just the code.
But so, art. Oh my God! Don't touch my art.
Yeah. Well, I've heard that. Especially, I've been like learning and working a lot with SVG, and people can be a little weird with it, because it's kind of like it is the original.
Oh my God! You're right, because SVG is both code and it's art.
That is a good point.
Ooh, Vector Tuna could.
Jessica Hish made me feel, or it was like that. Just like in my portfolio, I work in vectors, and I do really unique one-off special vectors. I'm not going to use those on my website. I'm going to use the low-quality JPEG, or maybe not low quality, but I'm not going to put the SVGs for my one-off original artwork on my website. They'll just get ripped off.
I think Rachel's animations are going to start looking a little bit fuzzier with some watermarks.
Copyright 2014, Rachel Neighbors.
Yeah. Hey, you just do whatever you want. Now, if a pen is private, it does not have that license. You can apply any license you'd like to it.
But why would you do that?
I don't know.
Are private pens popular?
Yes, they are. As a matter of fact, private is such a... It's not difficult of a feature. That's a terrible way to write, but you can imagine it's a little arbitrary when you're building a web app, right? It's not the hardest feature we ever programmed, making private pens, you know, like you just got to make sure they don't show up, and we use like a long obscure URL, so it's not like they're password protected. They don't show up anywhere. They have an unguessable URL, and we try to make sure that they're not indexed by search engines. That's the deal with private pens. And everybody wants private pens because it's kind of like I just want to make a throwaway pen. I don't want anybody else to really see this, or I'm not ready for the world to see this yet. I'm still working on it, so I want it to be private.
Okay.
It turns out, so what we wanted to do is, because we want Codepen to be beloved and used by everyone, and if we could give away every single feature we could, we'd love to do that, because that's how you get traction and stuff. And in fact, back in the early days when we were dealing with VCs and stuff, they're like, make everything free. That's how you get users. So we're like, okay, maybe because everybody loves private, we'll make that one free. And we're like, okay, so we actually coded the whole thing up. Let's remove all the normal stuff. Let's make it a free feature. We're just about to push it, and all of us actually had like a little bit of trepidation. We're like, this feels weird, because we are removing an incentive for signing up for Pro. So let's wait on it. I'll make a survey, and I'm going to send it out to every single Pro subscriber and say, why did you go Pro? What was the number one reason why you did it? And it was overwhelmingly private. That was why they upgraded. Which is, you assume that's like probably like that on GitHub too. Like that's the whole reason you go Pro, is because then you can have a private repo, right? And it was stupid. We had to scrap the whole thing, because we cannot, as a business, start giving away the number one reason that people upgrade. It would just be stupid. So.
And it's even worse if you give it away for free and then decide to start charging for it.
Right, can't do that.
So that's even worse.
Yeah, it is. It is a great feature, and like you can think about it too. If you're a company or a group, like if you're a startup even, and you have some code that you want to put out there, but you want it only internally for you and your clients, right? This is a really good way because you have features like professor mode and your pair programming mode where you can interact with these and collaborate, which is really awesome.
Yep, it's different apps have different approaches to that. Like collab is our own, which is one where you give a URL to a friend or whatever, up to 6 people I think at the moment, and you get multiple cursors like you can in Google Docs. Like you see each other type as you go. It's kind of like our 4th or 5th iteration of that. It was a tremendous amount of programming to get there. It's very complicated, and of course that's a pro feature. We developed that in-house. It's useful to a specific group of people that need it, so that's a perfect pro feature. Although there are other companies that offer it for free because that's just one of the ones that they've chosen to make free. Well, other different things they charge for.
Well, you have a lot of people on Codepen, I'm assuming. How many users do you have about? Or
That's
if
public, so you can go just look at codepen.io/stats. For people that have just signed up that have an account, period, it's 212,000, which is a lot. That's not like it's not one of those cool metrics like active users that a lot of apps have. That like this isn't like people that have logged in the last month or anything like that. So there might be some spam users in here, although we try to stay on top of that. There's very likely a large swath of these users that haven't logged in a year. So it's not the most interesting metric, but that's how many signups we've gotten.
So I'm sorry, go ahead, Rachel.
I was going to say, which option is most popular, like professor mode, etc.?
Oh, which like pro feature?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's
aside from private.
Aside from private, oh, that's interesting. I think we actually made this public at one time. I will look it up casually while we do another question. As I know exactly the order in which these are popular.
So I was going to say with collab mode, and like it's pseudo real time, right? So what kind of development challenges did you have in working with that?
A lot. There's like math involved. There's like take 2 arbitrary chunks of code and then do, God, I forget what they call them, operational transforms or something. There's some kind of like way to figure out a diff between them and then like send as little information as possible to each other's client to do the right thing, to change the smallest amount of stuff you can to keep them in sync. Because what you wouldn't want to do is like take an entire chunk of code and be like, here's everything, here's everything, here's everything, here's everything. It's like too much going across the wire. So there's some like cool mathy way to do it, which obviously I didn't write. I'm way not smart enough for that, but our guy Alex is smart and figured it out and worked with it. And he followed. There's information about it. There's blog posts you can follow and stuff. So he was hand wrote the code, but standing on the shoulders of giants who have figured this out because people have Node is good at this kind of thing. So the Node community is kind of been writing about it and stuff. And the early iterations were pretty bad. Like they would work in a little bit of testing. They'd have cross-browser problems. They'd have sync problems. It wasn't totally pretty, unfortunately. And then we would change and upgrade versions and stuff. And right now it's super solid. So I think this is version 5 or something like that. We've blogged our kind of transition through them, but part of it has been like the more we've outsourced on it, the better it's gotten. Sadly, which doesn't tell a great story about our coding abilities, but sorry. Right now we use a service called PubNub, which is the middleman for the WebSockets-y stuff, which is great because then they just keep it fast and they keep it CDN'd up and all that stuff. And then Google actually has an open API for their operational transform-y thing. I don't even know if that's the technology they use, but they have the same thing that powers Google Docs. You can send them 2 chunks of code and they do the work on it. So now
Ooh.
all that custom code that we spent a year or more figuring out how to do for collab mode is now just kind of like we use PubNub and it just works, you know.
Well, I mean,
And it works
people
really
also
well.
people use things like Firebase or stuff like that for not as complicated as what you're doing, but it seems like that collaboration piece, that type of thing has become its own little business, as it were.
Yeah.
So that you don't have to spend, like I said, a year. Yeah, so you don't have to spend a year trying to figure out how all that stuff works.
Right. We can pay you and use it, and it's great. We're gonna do the same exact thing with WebRTC. Like it's been like this probably is no big secret that that's where we need to head with this. I don't know when. We haven't actually dug a ton into development for it, but WebRTC is like what we're doing right now. It's like audio and video over the web, but without needing a middleman. But then you need a middleman.
Just to connect, though, you need a server to connect, and then you can hand off peer-to-peer.
Right. And for if it's one-to-many, you need a middleman for the bandwidth to help you. Otherwise, it would just be your bandwidth outgoing. So I can't wait to pay somebody to be our middleman for that. You know, please show me the best one. We'll pay you to be our WebRTC middleman. Because how useful would that be in collab mode? Now we can talk as well as type together. How useful would that be in professor mode? Now you can see my face as well as that. And honestly, it's the big missing feature of those things. I think it would be more compelling it would be a great add-on. And I think, it can be a replacement for Skype if we had that. Like as soon as you have a really nice WebRTC feature, people can use it for all kinds of surprising things, I think. We're going to get there. We just haven't done it yet. We have some stuff ahead of it.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. Have you found, I don't know what the lowest common denominator is for mobile and desktop for you guys, but have you found that there's a lot of overhead in supporting certain legacy devices or browsers?
Yeah. I mean, we make the bar super high,
Yeah.
Like IE 10,
Yeah.
So. Because we can, it doesn't seem to affect our bottom line. We're targeted at really high level developers. I am mentally aligned with the ideas of progressive enhancement and, getting your information out to as many people as you can. But I never seem to work on apps where that is entirely necessary. Like if you visit Codepen without JavaScript, you get a big gnarly pop-up that says it's not going to happen. I'm super sorry, but
you're not though.
That's fair. As long as you're communicating.
I think you can make an assumption about your users that if they're coming to Codepen, they have a general interest and thus should have enabled JavaScript.
We're lucky that way, but it's been, I used to work at Wufoo too, and that was the same way. We were just like, sorry, you kind of have to have JavaScript for this thing. But at the same time, I run sites like CSS Tricks where that's not a requirement. I make sure that is you can access all the content of it without JavaScript. It just depends on the type of application,
Yeah. Well, the next version of IE and the next the Spartan browser that they're working on. That's gonna support ORTC, which is the next version of WebRTC. So
ORTC, I haven't even heard of it.
Yeah, it's just a minor change in the spec. So that'll be good. That we'll have an extra browser that will actually support this.
Oh, are you saying that the new Spartan thing will support it?
It will support it. Yes, it's based on the IE 11 standards, and then
that's
they built
huge.
on that. Yeah, it's very huge. They're actually doing really good, Microsoft teams, in building on the web platform for the future.
It's is Spartan in developer preview now?
Yeah, you have to enable some flags. It's under the Windows 10 developer preview or whatever it is. If you go to status.ie, you can access it through remote, Microsoft stuff.
Cool.
Or modern.ie, sorry. So yeah, good news for Codepen there.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we would have done it anyway, but
I know. we had was it Levi for I can never pronounce his name, but he's like the RTC guy. over in Israel, and he was talking about what he does with that, and it's amazing stuff. So
It's
could be a lot of
really
fun.
empowering. It's not. This is WebRT is not some little cool feature that we can all like makes for a good tech demo and we all clap. It's like transformatively important. I think
Yeah.
it's a big deal. I should say that Private Pens was the #1 paid pro feature, and second place was Live View, the live updating view we have, which is it's kind of like it shows you a full page preview of the pen, and then as you type, like even in a different browser window, it updates the preview.
Why do you think that one's popular?
I think people dig the cross-device testing thing. Like, for example, you can open up a pen, hit share, and then send it to your phone number, which is like a Twilio thing, right? And I think Twilio is going to be one of these WebRTC middlemen, too, if they aren't already. They probably are already. And then you'll get a text message on your phone, and you open up the pen, and it will give you live view. So then I'm working on my computer while looking at my phone, and I'm watching the what's happening on my phone update live, and there's no limit to how many people you can do it. It's all a WebSockets thing, we send the updates through there. So we have like a demo where there's it's one of those, like, it's almost cliche now, but they're always impressive, where there's like 10 devices open and you change red to green and it changes across all the devices and stuff. It makes for a good demo, but it's pretty useful too. I use it pretty regularly. So live updating is the second most popular pro feature, and then it's pretty split for the rest of them. Hosted assets is 3, and I would have thought that would have been the #1. You can drag and drop a JPEG on there, and then it just uploads it, and you can use it. But #3, and then Professor and Collab are neck and neck for 4 and 5.
I thought one of the coolest things was when I first got to Codepen, I'm like, oh wow, I can use SAS. Oh wow, I can use Compass. Oh cool, I can use Less. I can use Jade. I can use Tamil. There's like so much stuff that you support that like is in my workflow for apps. Not always, but it's stuff that I use occasionally, and it's nice when, let's say I want to test something out, I can just copy some code from my existing project, paste it in there, and just test some stuff out.
Yeah, good. I mean, that's huge for me too. Especially because, like, in some cases I'm like not even really willing to write it without some kind of preprocessor in some cases. And yeah, and I think we have the most of them. I'm not sure, but we also don't offer like back versions though. Like if you like SAS, you're gonna write in the most up-to-date possible version of SAS. We just don't even have.
Yeah, that would be a nightmare to keep up with.
Yeah,
it moves so quickly, and there's so many different bugs.
Right, that are running the old ones. So like, I don't want to go down that road. Maybe there's a clever way to do it. There probably is. I'm sure Tim could figure it out. He's pretty good at this type of stuff. But I don't know that I'd want to maintain old boxes just for that reason only. It doesn't very appealing to me. The danger of this is that if there's a breaking change, we break old pens. So, sorry. Usually there's not in these technologies. They try to be fairly good about it. And I think if one of them released like a really gnarly one, where they're like, we're going to break everything, then we probably would start supporting both versions. But that hasn't happened yet, thankfully. There's been little minor stuff, but no major user revolt about it, so we'll be okay.
Maybe it's homegrown for the different did you use Ace Editor or some specific type?
The editor is Codemirror, which is there's Ace and Codemirror and I just like Codemirror better.
The API is just a lot easier to work with.
Amen. And he's responsive, and I think it's a good project.
It's responsive too, because I haven't used Codemirror. That's pretty awesome. Well, I worked on at a hackathon. We tried to build something with a code editor. Last year we were in the Static Showdown, me and I guess one of our hosts who's not here now, Christian, and we built this application that was going to be like a developer social tool to battle devs online, where you do like a code and be like, all right, I challenge you to do this, come at this time, and it was a lot of fun to do. But man, working with the editor and doing the real time, and we were using Ace Editor, it was like painful to try and get that to work right.
The elevator.
And you're talking about the diffs, and I'm like, oh my god, yeah, I remember.
Cool. I just saw one of those little challenges, that little elevator programming one that I was going to try. That seemed pretty fun. Like, make sure you can transport 15 people in 60 seconds or whatever, and you have to like write the JavaScript to do it. I was like, yeah, cool. Did you have a question, Rachel? I think we missed you on one.
It's all right. I've forgotten what it was.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I'll have another one for you shortly.
Cool. Yeah, so yeah, we try to stay up to date with all that preprocessor stuff. We do have a page that we should probably expose better that shows the version of all that stuff, because it just felt cluttery in the UI to show every version of every single possible thing that we're running, so I just don't do that and kind of moved it to another page. We're revamping it. That is a big new project at the moment, which is, like, for example, right now if you want to run SAS but you want to use Compass, that you can do that, but that's your only choice then, right? You pick SAS just because of the limitations of the UI on Codepen. That's what you pick. They're mutually exclusive to each other. So if you wanted to then run a third add-on or something, that's just not available to you. We're going to get rid of all that and just make it like it really is in real-world development land, where you import all the stuff that you want at the top of the pen, and that's what you can have. So if you want to use 3-4 different SAS add-ons, they'll just be available to you, and you can just do that, and you just import them at the top of the pen like you would anything else. And likewise with JavaScript.
So if you're using SAS, you can't use Bourbon? If you're using SAS, sorry. If you're using SAS, you have to use Compass, you said, or did I misunderstand that?
No, you can use SAS all by itself, but in the UI of Codepen right now, you can pick no add-on, or you can pick it with Compass, or you can pick it with Bourbon. But you can't, for example, use Bourbon and Neat, because we don't package Neat together. So what you would do in that case, in the future of Codepen, is write @import Bourbon at the top of your CSS and @import Neat at the top, and then you have both of those things that you can use.
Very cool.
At the moment, and that'll just be an upgrade, because then we can just offer whatever anybody wants. If somebody writes in, they're like, "Why don't you have my mix-ins thing for media queries?" I'll be like, "Well, we do now. Enjoy," like, 'cause then there's no like limit to the things that we can add. It's not cluttering up the UI with a select menu that's 600 items long. We can just like have some documentation that says these are the ones that we support. Enjoy. You want another one, just ask. We'll chuck it in there.
I haven't found any other tools that that have different feature sets that you don't have. Is there anything from other tools like JSBin or le.io for web components maybe?
There's a SAS-specific one called SAS Meister that, like, for example, does offer older versions of SAS if you want to run it. Like, that's not something we offer, but they do. Like, if somebody is going to write up a review, we see these once in a while that are comparing Codepen to something like JSBin. In JSBin, actually, JSBin has a bunch of stuff we don't support. I'm seeing now they have a couple of different ES6 to ES5 compilers that we don't have, so that's interesting. It's not that difficult to add. They haven't been popular enough to spend that much time on, but it looks like they offer a few that we don't. If you open the add library thing in JSBin, they really do have a select menu that's like 100 items long, and it's like, that doesn't appeal to me all that much. It's not that it's like an awful UI, but like, I just don't want to like play that game.
Yeah.
So we're not going to, and we're going to actually get rid of the JavaScript library drop down entirely. This is hot news, and just have type ahead only. So the type ahead is already there. It's not as great as I'd like it to be, but if you open up the JS settings in Codepen and start typing something like, oh gosh, JQ, yeah, you'll get a whole bunch of stuff that starts with JQ, and it's kind of a mess at the moment. We can clean it all up, but if you type in something that you really need, like underscore, if you type under, you'll get underscore. It just shows you options. Like, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of libraries available that way. So if we just get rid of the version dropdown entirely, I think people will stop being like, Codepen only supports these 6 libraries. I'm like, no, we support JavaScript.
All 6.
So, like, I just want to stop having people think that way. Like, the dropdown is just a convenience. You want jQuery, you just pick it real quick and you have it. That's great, but it's not that much harder or easier than just typing jQuery really quick, and then you have it. And what's also kind of cool about that is then it will lock to a version, which is nice. It's nicer for JavaScript, because we can't, like, the chances of a breaking change happening in a JavaScript library is higher than a preprocessor, probably. So once you've picked jQuery now, it will just put a URL in that happens to be the current version of jQuery at the moment, and it will just stay that way until you change it.
Have you thought about supporting any of the front-end package managers, like being able to browserify things and just ask for a require statement or anything?
That would be awesome.
Would that be
People
nice?
have asked for that. Yeah, you do need some kind of semblance of a file system for that, and we want that so bad. Like, that would be awesome. That, that's the thing, that comes up with teaching. I think Rachel mentioned earlier, it's like there's no file system to deal with. That's an advantage. It's also a disadvantage. We've had teachers being like, well, every web page in the world has home, about, contact, as the 3 links. Like, how do you build a little web page on Codepen that has those 3 pages? Well, you can't really, unless you fake hiding and showing, divs that are the entire size of the page or whatever. But that's not where you want to go. You want to have a href contact.html. So maybe someday, and this is be a little ways up, but we kind of have a roadmap towards this. You can have multiple HTML files, and as soon as there is a little file system to itself, then you can require, and you can do stuff. You can have little templates that you pull in, and you can build a little web page if you want to. We can get there. It's just that is infrastructural. That stuff lends itself to a NoSQL kind of thing, a little better than our current setup.
Chris, also, are there any pieces of Codepen that you think that maybe in the future that you would open source to the community?
There already is some things. Not like the core app for itself isn't, but the Codepen is an org on GitHub somewhere.
So people can actually go there and contribute to the project?
Not to the core app, not to like Codepen itself, but like there's little pieces of it that are broken off into open source libraries. For example, let's see. Most of the stuff is private. It's just the way we roll at the moment. But there's, for example, one of those things, one of those headless browsers. What are those things called? What's the popular one?
Phantom?
Yeah.
Mechanize?
Phantom is definitely one of them that we had to fork and alter to allow to do some stuff we needed to do. We run headless browsers for taking a screenshot of every pen. Every pen in Codepen has JPEGs associated with it in different sizes, so that we can do Twitter cards. And for example, on mobile, you don't get the iframe when you're browsing Codepen. You get a JPEG of what that pen looks like because it's way more performant on mobile.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. So we needed JPEGs of all pens, and we have a whole box set up that just does that. We send it the code, it runs it in the headless browser, it takes snapshots, it resizes them, it saves them to S3, it does all that stuff. It just by itself, it doesn't do that great of a job. It's like an old version of WebKit that is Phantom essentially. It's not as nice as like modern Chrome. It doesn't, like a WebGL pen will just die, and it doesn't support @fontface at all. So like our forked version that's now open source does all that stuff. It's like the whole point of it is to take higher fidelity screenshots of pens is available there. That's a pretty small example. It's not like we open source the whole thing. Whereas something like JSBin is totally open source, and that's pretty cool. But I'm just not sure that I would manage that very well. I don't even.
It depends on your business. I can totally understand.
I would rather sell it, this is a business to us. So if there was a compelling business case for it, I would consider it, but I don't see that at the moment. So.
Okay. So one other thing too on that, does anything that you've open sourced, like that particular piece, does that get rolled back into Codepen at any point? If some feature somebody commits is really good.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm sure that's happened. If somebody made a pull request for it, would it come back into Codepen? Heck yeah, it would.
I mean, Rachel, get on that.
Those pieces aren't separate from Codepen. Those repos are actively running components.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are we winding down? Do I get to ask my big question?
You get to ask your ultimate question.
I can't wait.
All right. So I got up at the Portland equivalent of 4 a.m. to do this because Codepen changed my life, and I wanted to be on this very special edition of the web platform to be there for Codepen and bring this perspective.
You're so nice to us, Rachel.
It's all your fault that I'm not managing people right now. I could have a job title that means something on paper, but Codepen had to have happened. Yeah, back in like 2012, I was giving these tiny little talks, and then I discovered CSS animation, and I started using Codepen to do some really cool things. He was like, I can draw because I used to make comics for a living, and so it kind of gathered steam, and I used Codepen to demo and build these huge talks around CSS animation. I had so much fun giving the talks that I was like, this is way more fun than working for other people. I'm going to go and just keep doing this until I find something that is as fulfilling. A quest I'm still on to this day, so it's all your fault, Chris. That said, what are some of the most inspiring stories that have transpired because of Codepen? You have changed someone else's life too, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, there's other Rachel, who I think you maybe know, Rachel Smith, who posted about how Codepen also changed her life because she was kind of, she's super talented in like a bunch of data visualization stuff and Canvas, and she's pretty multi-talented. And she posted about how I should probably just link to her blog post or whatever, but it was kind of like I probably got my job because of it, and that type of stuff, which is pretty great, and she's amazing. I think Nate Wiley, who also posts a lot of, like, if you see a rainbow on the front page of Codepen, he's got this like color palette that's always like, he uses the same colors, which I think is such a cool like way to be recognizable on Codepen. You can also tell a Rachel Neighbors pen when you see it too. You have a very unique style that I think you wouldn't have to see the name to know that you did work.
All
but
those
Nate
7
got
years of cartooning.
His first job from
finally paying off.
Somebody gets a job from the thing that you did exclusively that says, I was contacted out of the blue, and it was because of my work that I published here on this site. That's pretty spectacular, I think. And there's certainly people that just, like, it's part of their daily ritual. That's kind of great, and I'm glad to be a part of it. Like Anna Tudor too. Like, she said she doesn't even work in local editors anymore. She just uses websites like Codepen to write code in. So I'm not sure if we have a positive impact on her life or not. I would hope that we do, but I think that's kind of nice.
I think you do.
I don't think we've, saved anybody's life or dragged them from a burning building or anything, but close enough.
You helped me teach a bunch of students in Denmark and give lots of talks all over the world. Probably never would have left the States otherwise.
That's fantastic. Thanks. I love hearing your stories and stuff. You do amazing work. So thanks we'll do this next one where I'll interview you.
We already did that one on ShopTalk.
Yeah, you're right.
I almost wore the ShopTalk shirt, but then I was like, no, too fangirly. Don't do that. Be professional.
I'm rocking
it's an awesome show.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Can't even get these.
I saw
I know.
some new swag on there.
Didn't you have one, don't you? I gave you a hoodie at one point, but maybe it was too small or something.
You did, but it shed white lint all over everything, and I always wear black, so it looked like I had a cat, and I was
had to go.
Let it go.
Yeah. The only reason you can't sell these is because they're like $50 to buy. You'd have to sell them for way more than.
Oh God, now I feel even better.
Nice.
Just send me a handkerchief.
So, Chris, if people want to contact you, learn more about Codepen, CSS tricks, all the magic that you've created to inspire others, how can they reach you and find you?
There's plenty of ways. I'm one of those that uses my full name as my thing everywhere. So it's Chris Coyier. Is Twitter, is GitHub, is my email address at gmail.com. Those are all fine ways. I'd love to hear from all of you if you have any questions or comments on anything that I do. Certainly, Twitter's always easy, at Chris Coyier.
Okay.
Chris, you rock.
Yeah, you
rock,
did. Thank you so much for coming on.
Good. Thanks for letting me talk about my own stuff for the whole time. It feels a little weird sometimes. You're like, blah, blah, blah. This is stuff that's only important to me, but
I mean, people don't listen to this show for us. They listen to it for you guys. So we're glad to just let you talk about whatever you want.
We're just fanboys and fangirls.
Fangirls, yeah.
I'm a fangirl.
Well, thanks for having me on. I'll promote it whenever it goes out on the site and stuff.
It's out right now.
Yeah.
It's one of those things.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. There's no. How does it go to iTunes, or you just have it a site only?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll go to iTunes.
Yeah, that.
And it will be on YouTube as well.
Yep.
Cool.
Well, it's there right now. It's hang out on air. That's how it works.
Thanks, everybody. And you're at Chris Coyier on Twitter, so
Yeah, it's
catch you later.
Yier. Yeah.
Thank you for coming, Chris. It was great to see you again.
Yeah, great.